That's delicious. Oh. Oh, good gracious. What's up, people? I'm just wiping down these steaks. We're gonna cord wrap a bunch of steaks this morning, and then today, for the first time on live, you're gonna get to see me finish a custom battle bat. This is the first time I've ever done a battle bat and finished it on a live stream, so today will be the first time I do that. I only have minor anxiety about that today. But first we gotta do these steaks. I'm gonna be cord wrapping the handles on these vampire steaks. And then we're gonna finish this custom battle bat. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna have to probably wash my hands between doing these and doing the bat, because as you can see, my hands get a little dirty when I am working with these stained and distressed vampire steaks. Welcome everybody to Sunday finishing work. I'm going to be cord wrapping steaks this morning, and for the first time we've got a custom battle bat that I am going to be finishing on the live stream. I will grab it here with my one clean hand. This is a custom bat for a customer. This is initials on the knob. Hey, happy Father's Day. How you doing, Gru? It's got a black bottom, gray on top. It's going to get a black handle first. And then after I finish all up here, we're going to go in to my workshop and we are going to apply neon green barbed wire to this bad boy. And pray that I don't completely ruin the bat in the process. Oh, let me take my glasses off. I can't ever see on that. Hey, Bang, how you doing? Welcome. Like I said, we're gonna start with some steaks, and then we're gonna move on to the battle bat. And then probably after the battle bat, I've got a few more steaks to finish up. I made so many steaks yesterday, mostly because my shop's going to be closed starting on the 21st. Or the 20th, I think. Whatever Friday is, my shop's going to be closed. So it'll be closed until July 24th. So this weekend, I just kept things simple. Hey, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you as well. I'm all on my lonesome this Father's Day. My significant other and everybody, they're out of town. So just, you guys are going to hang out with me on Father's Day. All right, hang on. Just realized, yeah, it's 6 inches. That's a 6-inch tip. I'm going to say that's more than 6 inches. I don't think I need to measure it. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Oh, wait. And again, I went the wrong way. I always do that on these steaks. I don't know why. I never do that on anything else. But while I'm cord wrapping these steaks, if you got any questions about the shop or what I'm doing, feel free to drop those in the chat. Help me be a little less bored this morning. I've got about, I think I got about 15 or 16 steaks that I need to cord wrap this morning. Like I couldn't even fit them all on the table. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 11 of them here. And I think I got 6 more sitting in the drying area. So if you guys can stick with me through the boring cord wrapping of the steaks, I promise the baseball bat will probably be a little more interesting to watch. I know, and I appreciate you guys showing up on my Sunday morning lives. I really do. I know that 7:30 a.m. on a Sunday is pretty early for most people, and I know that this isn't exactly like watching a fireworks display. You know, I'm not doing anything super exciting. Just doing the finishing work on all my projects for the weekend. But if you're new to Sunday finishing work, I do this every Sunday. I have various stuff. I don't always just do steaks. I usually have multiple projects that I'm finishing up. You just happen to show up on the weekend before I'm closing the shop for a month to go hang out with my kid. So every summer, my kids live in Texas. So every summer I close the shop for a month and go to Texas, and I stay in an Airbnb and hang out with my kids as much as I can on summer break. These days, it's mostly just my son. You stayed up all night, Fireball? Awesome. Yeah, I figured if you're on at 7:30 a.m. on a Sunday, you're either up very early or very late. One of those two. My daughter, she's in college, so hanging out with dad's not exactly on her to-do list. But my son, he's 12, and he still wants to hang out with me, which is always fun. So he's turning 13 this summer, though, so I know I've got limited time with that before he suddenly has a girlfriend and a social life, you know? Oh, these steaks, so I run a shop called Warrior Wooden Props. He's asking what the steaks are for. And I make all kinds of just weird stuff. I make practice weapons for HEMA, Boo Hurt, SCA, martial arts, Kendo, Kenjutsu, Kobudo Karate, all that kind of stuff. And I also have probably the widest variety of vampire steaks you will find on online. So as a kid, I was obsessed with vampire hunter movies. I loved the 70s and 80s like Hammer style vampire films and just all sorts of vampire films. Monster Squad was like my first foray into that when I was a kid. When I was about 10 years old, I went to go see the Monster Squad in theaters. It was awesome. And so I make a lot of vampire steaks, mostly with cutoffs from my shop, because I hate to waste wood, and vampire steaks are fun to make. And so yeah, I make a lot of vampire hunter steaks. I've been selling a lot of them lately. Oddly, I don't normally start selling these a lot until about September, when we start getting closer to like Halloween, the Halloween season. But this year, the convention group has been buying vampire steaks a lot, because apparently I'm seeing a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer cosplays. Who's saying hi here? Let's see. True Pyro, how's it going? Hey, what's up, Higher Learning? Welcome back. I have all sorts. If you go to warriorwoodenprops.com, or you can go to eBay and just honestly go to eBay and search vampire steak, and you will find probably all the listings that come up in the beginning will be mine, because I have a huge, huge selection of vampire steaks on my shop. And I also do custom ones. I've had a few customs that I've done. I even sell a vampire steak baseball bat. I call it the vampire bat because I'm a dork and I love puns. All right, that's one down. Hey, happy Father's Day, Higher Learning. How's it going? As I was telling everybody, I'm running solo this Father's Day. Everybody in my house is out of town, so yeah. Everybody in my house is out of town, so I'm running solo. But it was really nice of them. They left some gifts for me for Father's Day and hid them so that I didn't find them until Father's Day. That was really nice to wake up to. How long is the stream? Higher Learning? I don't know, man. Probably an hour to 2 hours, usually. So I've got about 16 steaks I got to cord wrap, and then I've got a custom battle bat that I'm going to end the stream, do the finishing work on that. We're going to do the handle wrap on the baseball bat, and then we're going to put barbed wire on it. But for the right now, we're just going to do vampire steaks, and I don't know. I would say this will probably be close to a 2-hour stream, I would imagine. What wasn't so long? Fireball. The steak wasn't so long, or the stream. Welcome everybody. So this is Warrior Wood and Props. If you're new to the stream, I go live every Sunday morning doing finishing work in my shop. This morning we've got about 16, something like that, vampire steaks, 16 or 17 vampire steaks to cord wrap this morning, and then I'll be finishing up a custom battle bat after that. That's my favorite thing to make in my shop, by the way, are custom battle bats. I make all kinds of crazy baseball bats. I've made barbed wire bats. I've made machete embedded baseball bats. I've made baseball bat axes. I've made baseball bats with spiky nails in them. This is the second steak right now. Oh, when I was wrapping the first steak, yeah, no, they don't take super long to do. The cord wrapping doesn't take a long time. I've done this so many times that it doesn't take me a super long time to do it. But I do have a lot of steaks to do this morning. I knocked over my string thingy. Oh well, I think it'll be okay. What time is it ending? I have no idea. Whatever. I would guess probably like 9:30. That would be my guess. Probably sometime around 9:30 I'll be done. That is a very rough estimate, Higher Learning. I don't know. I don't really plan like a length of time. I usually give myself at least 2 hours to do it. Sometimes it goes a little longer, sometimes it goes a little shorter, but for the most part, it's usually about 2 hours. Yeah, basically whenever I'm done, pretty much. Yeah, that's I'm live until I'm finished. And it's like on Saturday staining. Sometimes Saturday staining takes, 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes it's 20 or 30 minutes. Just kind of depends on how long it takes me to get through everything. I've done 2 steaks in the last 15 minutes. That doesn't bode well. All right, this one's almost done. Why do I only do on Sunday? Because I work 3 jobs, Higher Learning. Because I work 3 different jobs. During the week, I am a marketing copywriter for a technology and cybersecurity company. I also am an author for Penguin Random House. I write mythology books for Random House. Right now, I'm mostly doing contracts with DK Publishing out of the UK. And then I run my shop. So the bulk of my work I do on Saturday and Sunday here in the shop. Sometimes I do a little bit of work because I have an office here at the shop, and that's also where I work during the day. So sometimes I'll do a little bit of work in the shop on the side, mostly just small stuff like, you know, spraying paint or whatever it is I need to do on a project. Painting is mostly what I do during the week because painting takes a while with drying and all that. So I can, you know, paint something and then let it sit while I'm working in my office. Mythology books, please elaborate. Okay, so in college, I made probably one of the worst financial decisions of my life. And I got a master's degree in English with a focus in world mythology because I am a huge mythology nerd, have been for most of my life. And when I got out of high school and went through the Marine Corps and came out, and I've always been able to write well, so that kind of turned out to be like my one marketable skill when I got out of the military. So I went to college and got lucky enough that one of my professors was a former student of Joseph Campbell, and if you're a mythology person, you absolutely know who Joseph Campbell is. And started trying to build a writing career, and somehow got lucky. And I did my first mythology book was The Complete Idiot's Guide to World Mythology. And I've done a few books on, or a couple books on like TV shows. I wrote The Mythology of Supernatural. I wrote The Mythology of Grimm, which was a show that was on NBC for a little while. I just did a book last year, or year before last, on supernatural creatures. That's out now. I just finished a book on legendary heroes. Just if you look up legendary heroes, DK Publishing, that should come up. It's like a book fair style book with pictures, kind of like a kid's encyclopedia of legendary heroes. No, your language is fine. There, higher learning, you're good. Yeah, there, D. It's a very fascinating subject. I really enjoy it. Matter of fact, when I get back from Texas, the weekend after that, I have Tampa Comic-Con, and I go there here in Tampa, Florida, or here in Florida. I'm not in Tampa, but I go up to Tampa for Comic-Con, and I give lectures on like old school fairy tales, mythological creatures, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've been writing professionally, probably, good God, how old am I now? Probably for about 25 years, around that long. Oh yeah, absolutely. I always tell people that, my view, a lot of people think of mythology, they just think of it as stories, and really what they are truths. And they are, I don't know, like, they are metaphorical guides, basically. Like one thing I always say, which I love, is that life is a labyrinth, and the stories we tell are the guides through the labyrinth for us. And yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I'm a big fan of mythology, depth psychology, which is kind of like a school of psychology that revolves around myths. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the secrets are always in the stories. The secrets to existence. That's the whole point of mythology, is to know, to help us understand our place in existence. In the cosmos of existence, anyway. Welcome, everybody. If you're new here, this is Warrior Wooden Props. This is my Sunday finishing work stream. I do this every Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Thank you for hanging out with me at this ungodly hour. I imagine you're either up early or you've stayed up way too late. We're going to cord wrap some steaks this morning. And then I got a custom battle bat I'm going to finish at the end of the stream. We're going to put a handle on it, and we're going to apply some barbed wire to it. Some neon green barbed wire. Should be cool. You wake up at 5 a.m., D? Oh, good gracious. I usually wake up about 6 a.m. When I'm in Texas, I wake up at 5 a.m. though, because of the time change. But I still have to work from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I work while I'm in Texas. I actually work from 6 to 3, because here in Florida, it's 7 to 4. These are vampire steaks. I make a wide assortment of vampire steaks in my shop. Like I said, I'm going to be closing my shop for a month to go hang out with my kid during his summer break. So this week, all I did was vampire steaks. Normally, I do a kind of an assortment of projects, but this week it just didn't pan out because I had too much stuff to do. To get ready to close the shop. So we're just doing vampire steaks. And this last custom battle bat that I have in my queue. You woke for work? Wow, that is a hell of a commute. Yeah, vampire steaks. So, one of the most universal myths on vampires, or stories on vampires, is the only way to kill them is to stake them through the heart with a wooden stake. Sometimes silver. But silver's expensive. At some point, I'm thinking about getting a smelter, though, and getting some silver so I can do some silver tip steaks. I think that would be cool. But that's off in the future. But yeah, speaking of mythology and stakes, I've mentioned this on a lot of live streams in the past. There are actually a lot of rules to staking a vampire that most people and most movies don't really follow. And the number one part of the staking a vampire lore that I never have seen in a movie, and I would love to see it, or anything, a book, a movie, is that you should never stake a vampire with evergreen wood. Because evergreen was considered, in the past, it was considered a representation of immortality. And so you're staking an immortal being with an immortal wood. And the idea was that it wouldn't actually kill the vampire. And some of the lore even says that staking a vampire with an evergreen wood could make the vampire stronger. So it's always good. Just choose a good hard wood. Stay away from evergreen wood if you have to stake an actual vampire. Let's pray that never happens. Most of my stakes are hardwood. Like these cheap ones, these are actually made from pine, so they're not, I wouldn't use these. I don't know if I want to test that out. Yeah, I could. Yeah, Northern European and Icelandic in general, yeah. The silver, but you also see it in Romanian and Celtic lore as well. You see the use of silver. It's kind of a throwback to Fey lore. A lot of old like magical being lore kind of rolls into new magical being lore over time. Not that either of those are new, but vampires are kind of a slightly newer lore than Fey folk. Fairy folk have probably been around since prehistoric times. We're not even sure as far as the stories about them. Yeah, so that's why I tell people not to stake people, Paul, with my stakes. I have to put that disclaimer on every stake I sell that these are for entertainment purposes. Please do not stake anyone, because stakes will kill a normal person just as well as a vampire. The other interesting part of lore is that in some lore, vampire stakes don't actually kill vampires. What they do, if you stake a vampire through the heart, you have to leave it in. Because what it actually does is it renders the vampire like paralyzed. It puts them in like a state of suspended animation. So after you've staked them, you have to chop off their head and burn the remains in order to make sure the vampire is dead, because the stake actually doesn't kill the vampire. It just immobilizes them. And that same lore also says that if you leave the stake in and the vampire is left out under the light of the next full moon, the stake will be ejected from their chest and they will resurrect. So when you stake them, leave the stake in. Staking them and pulling the stake out, according to some lore, will not kill a vampire. It will only piss them off. So you gotta make sure you leave the stake in. Right, yeah, migration patterns, rebooted stories, absolutely. That's definitely a thing that happens over time. However, there are some stories, and that's something I love as a mythologist, there are stories that exist between cultures that were never in contact with each other, and yet they have stories that are almost identical, which I think is really cool. You know, there's kind of a shared consciousness, I think, among humans in how we interact. I think we understand certain symbols. We subconsciously or unconsciously understand certain symbols have certain meanings, even when we're in different cultures. The vampire lore is fun, and but the wooden stake thing, pretty universal except for Changxi, which are the Chinese vampires. They're slightly different. The Changxi is like a hopping corpse, if you've ever watched like a kung fu movie where there was like a monster that like had its arms out, was like hopping with white hair, that's a Changxi. And I'm probably butchering that word because my Mandarin and or Cantonese is awful because I don't speak it. Oh yeah, absolutely. I honestly, when it comes to vampire lore, I truly believe a lot of it comes from when plagues happened. That's an issue because people weren't great at knowing when other people were dead for a good chunk of human history. And so, you know, if somebody looked like they weren't breathing and they weren't moving and you couldn't detect a heartbeat, they were dead. And, you know, it wasn't like they had, you know, electronic instruments to check. You just put your finger and see if somebody was alive or not. Or you put a mirror in front of their face, and if it didn't fog up, they were dead. Then they'd bury those people. And those people would wake up and they would try to crawl their way out, you know, of their graves. And a lot of times back then, it's not like now where people were buried in caskets. You know, a lot of times back then, they just dug a hole, rolled you in, and covered you up. People would dig their way out. They'd be dirty and covered in dirt and probably try to go home. People were far more superstitious back then. And the guy that died that you just buried shows up at the front door of the house, you know. Yeah, people freak out. I think that's where you get vampire lore or undead lore in general, to be honest with you. Is they accidentally buried some people who were still alive, and when those people showed back up, everybody lost their shit. Yeah. You know, like, for example, do you guys know, like, werewolf lore, for example? Very, very old, but not as old as you think. Werewolf lore dates back to, like, the 9th century, for the most part. And at that time, the Vikings were doing their expansion, and the Vikings had a group of guys called the Ulfethner. And the Ulfethner were basically, they were like berserkers who wore bear costumes and acted like bears and drank like hallucinogens. Whereas the Ulfethner were kind of a similar thing. They were mercenaries, but their power, they believed, derived from wolves instead of bears. And they were actually very feared. The Ulfethner were more feared than the berserkers, to the point that the Ulfethner were outlawed long before the berserkers were. I'm sorry, berserkers. The berserkers were eventually outlawed as well, but the Ulfethner were outlawed first. So I think part of the beginning of werewolf lore most likely comes from the Viking expansion. Before its bloodline, Norse, yeah. But my favorite thing is the biggest surge, one of the biggest surges in werewolf lore. That period of time, there were multiple famines. Okay, if you look up the story of Peter Stubb, that's a good example of this. So during periods of famine, it used to be when they would like mill grain and stuff, they would have every now and then they'd find like these little dark black grains, and during times of plenty they would pick those grains out, right? So they wouldn't end up in the flour and they wouldn't end up in the bread. Or the poor people would pick those grains out and take them home and make their bread with it. The problem was those really dark grains were a fungus called ergot. Ergot is where we got LSD from. It is an extremely, extremely potent hallucinogen. And during times of famine, however, they wouldn't pick those grains out. Even the more well-to-do people would not pick those grains out. So you had good chunks of human history where people were walking around tripping on LSD all day with no idea. No one knew they were tripping on LSD, so they were seeing weird shit. They were doing weird shit and seeing weird shit because they were high as a kite on LSD but just didn't know. It's an interesting thing about werewolf lore as opposed to vampire lore. Whereas we only have like one or two like recorded like historical events related to werewolf lore, one being the Peter Plagojewicz case, which is really fun if you ever want to go check that out. Peter Plagojewicz was a guy that had died in Romania, and he had a British like diplomat that was in the area at the time, and he documented the whole thing because the village decided he was the Peter Plagojewicz was a vampire. They went and dug him up and staked him. And according to the Brit who recorded the whole event, when they staked him, he screamed. However, like your body builds up gases as you're decomposing, and so when you stake someone, you compress the chest. And that can cause all that gas to escape, which was probably what caused the screaming sound. But yeah, scared the shit out of the guy, though. And But when it comes to werewolves, however, we have a lot. There are a lot of recorded cases of werewolves, which I find funny. Because, like, a lot of them coincide with famines. A lot of them coincide with famines, or at least happen during or shortly after famines happen. I don't know about that, there, D. I'm not getting into that, but I tend to be more of a realist in my interpretations. But there are some cases where that was said, but you have to remember also sometimes those were during periods of pretty rampant anti-Semitism. So, you know, I tend to not follow that line of thinking. But welcome everybody to Sunday Finishing Work. If you got any questions, please stick them in the chat. I'm just finishing up a bunch of steaks today, and then we're gonna do a custom battle bat for the first time on my live stream. Let's just pray I don't absolutely screw it up. So I gotta do 3 of these white ones. And then I gotta do 3 green ones, and then I gotta do 3 black ones. So I got 1, 2, 3 more of the white ones to do. Then we're gonna do 3 green and 3 black. All right. And no worries, D. But yeah, you really got to watch on stories because you got to kind of look. I have found when it comes to myths, to really understand them, you have to understand the world in which they were written. Uh, like for example, one of the big problems in with like the story of like the Great Deluge, which you find in several far, near, and Middle Eastern cultures. Basically the Great Flood that most people know from the Judeo-Christian mythology. Noah and all that. One of the big issues with that is that there's actually not enough water on the planet for the entire planet to flood, which is true. However, you have to understand that planet was not exactly a concept when these stories were written. They didn't understand planet. What they said, and they didn't say the planet flooded. They said the world flooded. And that is a very different thing. Because in the ancient mind, the world was what you understood existed. And so, like the Great Deluge stories, a lot of those are, the world flooded because I looked outside and everywhere I looked there was water. That's the world. And so the world flooded. But yeah, you find stories of a great flood in Native American mythology even, but for the most part you find it in Middle Eastern and Judeo-Christian lore. But because if you don't understand that, then you don't really get why they would say it the way they said it. But obviously a great flood did happen at some point because there are just way too many stories about it. Most likely at the end of the last ice age, the last great ice age, because a lot of water was turning from a solid to a liquid all at once, and that probably all evaporated and caused a lot of precipitation. I find though that in history, if you look at history and how it coincides with myths, you can often figure out a lot of things related to myths, specifically like why the myth was written, whether or not the myth had some kind of ulterior motive, which sometimes they do. In the ancient world, that was mostly to deify rulers. That's most of our earlier myths were just a way to make it a way of telling a story where the person in charge is actually related to a god. That was usually how that went. Yeah, absolutely. History and myths definitely connect. I wrote my master's thesis on Lilith, who's a character who shows up across a lot of Middle Eastern, Sumerian, and Mesopotamian and Judaic lore. I wrote my entire thesis on her. So I'm pretty familiar with ancient Sumerian and Mesopotamian mythology. Yeah, talk without getting beheaded. That's always a good goal. Try to talk and not get your head chopped off. Which has happened quite a bit. Just ask Wu Cheng'an. Wu Cheng'an was awesome. He was a writer in China at a time when China was very isolationist. You were not allowed to write new stories. But Wu Cheng'an wanted to instill a spirit of rebellion in the people, but he couldn't write a new story to do that. So he wrote a book called Journey to the West that had the Monkey King in it. And the Monkey King was a well-known character in Chinese mythology. So he was not writing a new story. And he wrote this story of, a rebellious Monkey King figure. And however, unfortunately, the government at the time did not view it that way. They did not like what he did at all, and yeah, he paid for writing that book with his life, unfortunately. You want me to talk about getting? Wait, are you saying talk about getting beheaded, or do you want me to talk about the topic of being beheaded? Because I don't know a lot about beheading, but I do know it's not as easy as most action and horror movies make it seem. Neck muscles are some of the densest, strongest muscles in your entire body. If you think about it like this, your legs are strong because they have to keep you standing up all the time. So think of it like this. Your neck has been holding your head up since you were an infant. That was one of the first muscles that you like developed. No violence from you, as rumored. Good to know. But your neck muscles are very, very dense. Like, that's why if you look back in history, beheadings were usually done by a specific person. Like, that was somebody's job, usually, before the guillotine came along. Like that. And the reason it was somebody's job is because it took skill. It took strength and skill to chop somebody's head off, whether it's with an axe or a sword, doesn't matter. Because you had to be accurate, you had to be strong, and you had to be able to heave usually a pretty heavy weapon or a very sharp one. In European cultures, mostly the time, that was just a headsman. That was what they did. They chopped people's heads off at executions and got paid for it. And also, fun fact, they sometimes got paid from both ends. They'd get paid from the person who wanted the person beheaded, and they would get paid by the person being beheaded. Because imagine if you're going to be beheaded and they miss and only chop like part of your neck on the first swing, and it takes multiple swings to chop your head off. It is going to be a gruesome and painful death. So the person being beheaded would often pay the executioner so that they would kill them in one shot, which is absolutely terrifying. And if you were poor, oh, God help you. You can't get anyone to draw and quarter you? Well, you know, that's probably a good thing. Being drawn and quartered is not an enjoyable event. But you know who are? I know that most people think like the samurai, for example, are most well known for their beheadings because of their insanely sharp, nihonto swords. But in actuality, that is not the case. Most samurai were not skilled in taking a head. There was a specific group called the kaishakunin. Kaishakunin were basically professional beheaders. And they were usually hired as either executioners or a samurai who was committing seppuku, who was committing ritual suicide, would hire a kaishakunin to stand over them with a sword, because cutting out your own abdomen is a slow, horrible, painful way to die. And so usually it's almost impossible to finish the job of cutting out your entire abdomen. And the worst thing is you're going to be alive even after you finish. So usually the samurai would tell the kaishakunin how long they wanted them to wait. They would start the disembowelment, and then the kaishakunin would stand over them with a katana, and at the predetermined moment would swipe down and cut their head off. Fun fact on this, not only would they cut their head off, but they would have to leave this flap of skin right here under the chin uncut. So that way the head would flip forward like a Pez dispenser and like drop into the lap of the samurai. Otherwise, if you cut the whole thing off, the head would fly off, and it was a very undignified thing. Samurai didn't like undignified. So they wanted it to be an honorable situation. So it was a very difficult, very difficult job. But if you were good at it, you could make a very good living, because samurai were committing seppuku left and right all the time. There was almost never a shortage of samurai, committing seppuku. Oh yeah, accuracy was the key. Because that's the thing, anybody can swing a sword hard and chop a head off, but doing it accurately, hitting the right part of the neck and making sure you leave that front flap of skin so that the head doesn't fly away, that takes extreme practice and accuracy. if anyone is familiar with the series Lone Wolf and Cub, or Shogun Assassin, though that guy, he was the Shogun's Kaishakunin, the main character in Lone Wolf and Cub, and or Shogun Assassin, as it was released in the U.S. for a while. Which you've probably heard of Shogun Assassin from Kill Bill. I think it was the main place where that movie was showcased. But yeah, in Shogun Assassin, the main character, or Lone Wolf and Cub, the main character is a Kaishakunin. He's the Kaishakunin. He's not a Kaishakunin. He's the Shogun's Kaishakunin. And the reason that's impressive is that sometimes you'd have the Shogun order a daimyo or samurai to commit suicide, and they wouldn't want to do it. Well, it was the Kaishakunin's job to hunt that person down and take their head. But he became so good at it that the Shogun began to fear him, and so sent assassins. But in the Lone Wolf and Cub story, which, by the way, Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks is also based on Lone Wolf and Cub. If you didn't know that, I think most people do know that. But in Lone Wolf and Cub, they sent assassins to kill him, and instead ended up killing his wife. So he goes on a mission of vengeance with his very young son, just basically carrying him in a basket with him as he goes to place and just goes on a bloody rampage of vengeance. It's pretty awesome. If you've never seen or never read the manga Lone Wolf and Cub, highly recommend it. One of my favorite manga. It's really good. Oh man, sorry for the boringness this morning with the steaks. Once I get done with these, I've got to do 3 more green ones and 3 black ones. Then I think I'm gonna call it a day with the steaks, and we'll move on to the battle bat. The custom battle bat, this one's one of the simpler ones I've had to do. It's a barbed wire bat. I've made so many barbed wire bats. Everybody wants a barbed wire bat because of The Walking Dead. I think that's starting to kind of die off, though, because I've noticed I'm starting to get more battle bat orders for stuff that's not barbed wire. But I still get barbed wire orders every now and then. And that's what this one is. We're going to do neon green barbed wire on this one. Which, fun fact, I went to paint the barbed wire with neon green paint, and the neon green paint did not really show up on it. So I had to switch to fluorescent green paint. That seemed to do the trick. All right, that's it on the white ones. Let me go put these in my inventory room. Be right back. Well, right, let me see here. Do I have connections to anyone who writes biographies? Biographies that would be fiction? No, biographies would be nonfiction. I mean, there are ghostwriters out there. I used to ghostwrite, but I don't do it anymore. You know, I'd help like older people write memoirs and stuff like that, but no, I don't really know anybody that does biographies these days. Usually younger writers are good people to go with. Yeah, I think the best place to look, to be honest, there is a, what is that? There's a website. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I used to use it all the time, where you can find freelance writers. I would look for somebody that's young, who's looking for work. A lot of young writers can help with that kind of stuff. That's what I did. I did that a lot in my early days of my career. I helped people write. Yeah, Absolute Writes. That's the name of the website. Absolute Writes. ABSOLUTEWRITE.com. AbsoluteWrite.com. I don't know if it's still there. I think it is. But if you want to hire somebody who can write, they vet all their writers, so you know that the person you're getting can write. And you just basically post what you're wanting them to do and how much you're willing to pay, and they'll answer. People will want to kill you more than now. Why do people want to kill you? That doesn't sound good. All right, let me go. Oh, shit, I'm going to leave these here. Let me go stick these in my inventory room. I'll be right back. Hang tight, people. I'll be right back. And we got a few more steaks to do, and then we're moving on to the battle bat. All right, I'm gonna grab more of these steaks. Death threats? Yikes. Well, good luck. No worries. I won't ask. Hey everybody, welcome to Warrior Wood and Props Sunday finishing work. If you got any questions, feel free to stick those in the chat. I'm just finishing up some steaks before we move on to a custom battle bat. My custom battle bat's gonna be pretty sweet, I think, once it's done. This particular custom job is a barbed wire bat, which I hate making sometimes because they're not easy. Can I post the name of the site? Hang on. It's just absolute right. Let me see if I can. I don't have a pen right now. I will try to do that later in the stream. There, D. But it's absolute rights, like writing, like WRITE, absoluteright.com. If you go there, they usually have. It's like I said, if the site's still around. I think it, I mean, I can't imagine it's not. I got so much work from that site when I was young. But it's a good place to post for work if you're looking for a freelance writer. Oh my goodness, I need some coffee. They usually do. Not always, Jay. That's why I don't normally live stream them, because I have ruined a few. Sometimes that final step ruins the bat. Putting barbed wire, especially when the bat's painted, and especially when the barbed wire is a color, and it usually is, that contrasts against the paint the bat's being applied to. I'm doing neon green barbed wire on a black bat this morning, so we're gonna see. I give myself a 70% chance odds that I don't ruin it. Yes, I have. I have ruined some bats. But that just comes with the territory. Most of the time when I ruin a bat, it's because the bat involves something new that I hadn't done before. And that's okay. That's how you learn. Sometimes you have a plan and you try it and it does not work. So you have to stop, start over, make a new plan. It's one of the reasons I really like doing this kind of work. Because especially with custom orders, because a lot of times, a person comes to me because they want something that doesn't exist. Oh, proof of concept rounds don't count against me? Fair enough. Matter of fact, I have a lot of proof of concept stuff that ends up being like auctioned on eBay because my proof of concept stuff usually is I make all my mistakes with that, and then when I make the actual one, that's why I usually make two, unless it's something I've done before. I usually make two bats because one will probably get ruined, usually the first one. But yeah, barbed wire bats, they're interesting. It's funny, the baseball bat thing just kind of happened. I'm not quite sure how I became the custom baseball bat guy, but like originally the first order I got was just somebody asking me if I can make a functional Negan bat like the Lucille from The Walking Dead. And I thought, how hard could that be? So, I got some baseball bats, and I, sanded them up and stained them up, and then I went to put barbed wire on them and discovered that putting barbed wire on a baseball bat is way harder. It's way harder than what The Walking Dead would have you believe, people. Way harder. And it took me, I tried like 4 or 5 different methods over time of how to apply the barbed wire. Barbed wire with a catcher's mitt? I don't know, Tony. What's up, man? Welcome, Tony. Good to see you again. A barbed wire baseball? Like a baseball covered in barbed wire? You need a Kevlar catcher's mitt for that? That would be interesting. Oops, I should not have put my coffee on the table. Trying not to put my coffee on the table anymore because I've spilled it a few times. Because I cannot be trusted. I'm why I can't have nice things. I'm the problem. It's me. Whew. Barbed wire catcher's mitt. Here's the thing, though. Like, if you had a barbed wire baseball and a barbed wire catcher's mitt, right? Then I feel like the baseball and the catcher's mitt would just get tangled together, because barbed wire, once barbed wire gets tangled up, man, it is really hard to get it untangled. Move. There we go. All right, hang on. Yeah, I'm in the right spot. I was just kind of eyeballing on these steaks, but I do want them to be at least a little consistent as to the handle length. But I just got this round of 3 black ones and a round of 3 green ones. I think these last 3 I'll just let sit. How long has it been? Almost an hour of me doing this. Oh my good gracious. Thank you all for sticking around, those of you who are still here. I know this isn't the most exciting thing to watch, a punchy middle-aged man cord wrap vampire steaks. Unlike most weeks, I have a variety of projects that I'm finishing. With this week, unfortunately, I only have these vampire steaks because I had a lot of stuff that I needed to do in the shop this weekend. I needed to clean it up and stuff because I'm closing shop for a month later this week. Which, by the way, if there's something you want from the shop, I highly recommend going and ordering it this week, because my shop closes at like 3 a.m. on Friday. So, and it will be closed until July 24th at least. So if there is something you wanted to get for the con season that you need before July 25th, well, actually, if you need it before the end of July, highly recommend going and doing that this week. And custom orders I do not do right now. This was my last custom order before I closed the shop. My cutoff for custom orders was June 10th. But I do, when I say custom orders, I don't just do custom battle bats. I do custom just about anything. I've made custom stakes. One of my favorite custom stakes was for a rock band, kind of a goth metal band called Cursed Bee. For a music video they were doing, they wanted a vampire stake, but they also wanted a matching like handle that could be like embedded into the shirt, so that it looked like the person was staked. So I had to make a natural wood stake, then find a natural wood stick that looks similar to the stake, and that was very difficult to do. Then, you know, sand it, cord wrap it so that it looked exactly the same as the real stake. I had to like glue a little shim to the bottom so that it could be taped to the person's chest and go under a shirt where the stake would stick out. I threw a hole in the shirt, and it looked like the person had been staked. They just had to throw a little fake blood over it, and it looked pretty good. And they used that in one of their music videos. I also made a pretty cool like shaman staff thing for them, and then I never heard from them again. I'm not sure what happened to them. I hope they're doing well. They were really good customers for a while, but I haven't heard from them in a minute. Probably happens sometimes, you know. I know more than anybody, you're trying to chase a dream. Sometimes life catches up to you and the dream gets lost. It's probably one of the hardest things to do in your adult life, if you have a dream, is to hang on to it while life happens. Because as they say, life is what happens when you're making other plans. All right. One more black one. Then we got 3 more green ones. Then I think I'm going to say we are done with the vampire stakes. There we go. But if you got any questions for me while I'm doing this, feel free to drop those in the chat, and I will answer them. It gives me something to do aside from just stare at this steak while I'm cord wrapping it. Tony, you know what? Tony actually gave me a really cool idea during my Saturday staining live, which I'm definitely going to be doing, which was for like a Christmas themed Negan bat, but instead of barbed wire, you use Christmas lights. I think that would look cool. So I haven't forgotten, Tony. I'm still batting that one around in my head because I definitely want to make that happen. I think that's going to look cool. I'm going to do like a green bat with a red handle or a red bat with a green handle. I haven't decided. Probably green bat with a red handle. I think it will look cool. And then the Christmas lights, I just had to figure out how to put a switch and a power supply on the Christmas lights. I have switches that work with watch batteries. I've used them with no more than a few LED lights, so I'm not sure if those little disc batteries that go in my switches will be strong enough to power a line of Christmas lights. But we'll see. Gus, remember? Oh, yes, Gus. I haven't seen that dog in a while. Yeah, I remember he was a little apprehensive of me when I met him before, but he came around. Dogs usually do with me. I don't know why. I like dogs. I like cats now too, which I never thought would happen until I ended up living in a house with cats and kind of fell in love with cats too. Cats are a completely different kind of animal from dogs, though. I think the thing I like most about cats is, for the most part, they just kind of take care of themselves. because I am very lazy. Well, I probably work harder. I'm probably the world's hardest working lazy person, but I know it looks like I'm not lazy because I work so much. But to be honest, if I had a choice between doing something and doing nothing, like if there was going to be no bad outcome from me doing nothing, I would absolutely do nothing. Doing nothing is awesome, and I don't get to do it very often. I have really hoping, I'm actually taking a couple weeks off work while I'm in Texas. I'm really hoping to have a few days of doing absolutely nothing. Except like playing Helldivers 2 and relaxing. Because I have not had a day like that in a long time. Alright. Done with the black. Yeah. Now we just got to do the greens, and then I'm going to take just a short break. I will be back. I'm not leaving the stream. I'm just walking out for a minute. So I got to go wash my hands off outside real quick to get all the stain off my hands before I handle the battle bat. All right. And green. Here we go. Actually, you know what? I have red. I wonder if I should do, what do you guys think? Should I do red, black, and white for these or green, black? I already have green, black, and white on the shop. I feel like red might, I feel like if I could just I could make like a separate set with the red. I could sell those as a separate listing. I think some people would prefer red to green. What do you guys think? Red instead of green, or stick with the green? I'm gonna go with red. I think a red would look cool. Alrighty then. So you do 3 of these in red. If you got any questions for me while I'm doing this, feel free to stick them in the chat. If you're new to the chat, welcome to Warrior Wooden Props Sunday Finishing Work. Just going to finish up these steaks, and then we're going to I'm going to take a very short, like 5-minute break, and then we will move on to the final project of this live stream, which is a custom battle bat. Shouldn't take me that long to get my hands clean. But, you know, give everybody to take a quick break. Give everybody a chance to do that, and we're going to do the bat. Say, you guys are no help. I'm so indecisive on Sunday mornings. You guys never help me make decisions. How dare you? I got 2 more after this, and then I'll be taking a quick break. But I'll leave the stream going. It'll just be a few minutes. there, you little bastard. One of the tough parts with jute is that sometimes the width is a little inconsistent, so you kind of got to keep adjusting as you go. Sometimes it gets wider, sometimes it gets narrower. Hey, Will, welcome back. Good to see you again. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. I got a couple more steaks to cord wrap this morning, and then we're gonna do a custom battle bat. I'm gonna do this steak, and then I got 2 more that I'm gonna do in the red. I'm gonna take like a few minute breaks. I gotta go wash my hands because I've got a ton of stain on my hands from handling these steaks. Because I usually cord wrap them before the stain is completely cured for 2 reasons. 1, I just don't have time to wait that long, and 2, it helps kind of distress the handles so they don't look super clean. Ah, and there go my glasses. I'm dropping shit everywhere lately. What am I? Red, white, and blue? No. We're not doing red, white, and blue vampire steaks. I'm not pulled. No, Jay. No. We're not doing that shit. I'm not making 4th of July freaking vampire steaks. But we're doing white, black, and red vampire steaks this morning. And I've got a battle bat that is it's a 2-tone bat with a black and gray. It's got the client's initials on the bottom of the handle. And I got to put a black handle wrap on it. And then he wants neon green barbed wire on it. I believe it's to match his vehicle. His vehicle is black with gray interior and a neon green trim. So he wants a bat that matches his vehicle. So that is what I'm making. This particular customer actually bought a similar bat from me back in December as a gift for someone else, and liked that one so much he decided to come back this year and get one from me for himself. That happens a lot, believe it or not, with the battle bats. I've had some weird ones though. I had one year, I had this guy in Quebec. It was around Christmas time. He wanted a bat painted like sparkly pink with like unicorn and Hello Kitty stickers all over it. And he wanted like a big picture of his friend's face, and his friend is ugly crying in the picture. So I had to go to like a printing shop and get like a custom nylon like decal made of his friend's face ugly crying, and then put that on both sides of the bat. Like, it was the easiest bat in the world to make, but the guy paid a lot for it. And mostly because he just decided to like do the custom. I always tell people, if you're gonna do a custom with me, you know, contact me first. He didn't even contact me, he just paid for it. If he had contacted me, it probably would have cost him about half of what he paid for it, but he already paid for it. So yeah, I'm never gonna turn down more money. But yeah, no, if you want a custom order, I highly recommend not just using one of my custom order listings. Just contact me, let me know what you want. There's if you go to my website, warriorwoodandprops.com, at the top of the page, there is a custom order contact me button. Just click on that and send me a message of what it is you want, and I'll do some math and give you an estimate. And if you're good with the estimate, then, you know, I will usually take a small deposit, usually at least $50, just so I'm not completely out. Because I've had a few times where people have asked for custom orders and then either ghosted or tried to get me to send it to them for free. So I don't, unless I've done business with you before, I usually don't do custom orders without at least a small deposit. Because I've just been burned too many times. I had one time, actually, this was around last November. Actually, I think it was sooner than that. It might have been in the summer. I had a lady. She wanted a custom set of these Michelangelo style nunchucks that were like orange with like she wanted it all made looking like it was made out of like steel parts from like the sewer. So that was expensive. Like I had metal pipe, metal end caps. I had to, use like welding and plumber's putty. I had to hire a metal fabricator to help me with it, to get the caps screwed, the holes in the caps screwed. I probably spent about, close to $100 in materials to make she wanted 2 sets. So I made 2 pairs of these. And then after I was done, she didn't want to pay. She wanted me to just send her the nunchucks for free. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. So those nunchucks are still sitting in my house because it's very hard to find a platform where I can sell nunchucks without getting in trouble. One of these days, I'll probably just list them on my Shopify store. I probably should do that at some point because right now they're just sitting around taking up dust, taking up space and dust. They are heavy as hell, though. I think a lot of people don't think about the functionality when they order custom orders. Like, if you're asking me for a functional thing, I will make it functional. But I don't know that it's going to work as well as you think it's going to work sometimes. And sometimes there's just no way to make it functional. Like I had a customer a few years ago. Actually, this was just last year. They wanted this spiked aluminum baseball bat from this show Z Nation, which I could have made the bat, but the problem is aluminum baseball bats are not as sturdy, I think, as people think they are. They are not. Most of the time they're hollow, and if you hit, like, you got to remember, baseball bats are meant to hit baseballs, which are flying through the air, okay? Aluminum bats specifically. So hitting a baseball, you're not getting a lot of direct resistance. You're just redirecting the motion of the ball in the air. Now, when you hit an object that's sedentary, that is not the same. And so a wood bat can handle that kind of pressure, but aluminum bats, most of the time they can't. Aluminum is not a super strong metal. Like I said, most aluminum bats are not solid. Some of them are. The more expensive ones are solid. But the bat also had spikes like welded to it, which I told them also, like, that's when a welding's points between aluminum, like, because obviously the spikes can't be aluminum because the spikes will just bend if they're aluminum. So they had to be steel. So I'm going to be welding steel to aluminum. The first time you hit something with that, those spikes are going to break off. It's just not going to hold together the way you think it is. He was very disappointed, but I'm like, I don't want to tell you that I can make something functional when I definitely cannot. I could have had it made and it would have made a good prop, but that wasn't what he wanted. He wanted it to be 100% functional. And I could not, in good conscience, make it for him and tell him it would be functional because I knew it wouldn't be. And that's another thing. If you come to me with a custom order and it's something that I know I can't do in a way that suits what your expectations and visions are, I will tell you that. I will not take a job if I don't think I can do it. Or at the very least, if I go to do a job that I thought, because sometimes you think you can do something and then you go to do it and it just kind of falls apart on you. And if that happens, I will refund your deposit and apologize. Hey, what's up, Abdius? Welcome back, man. Good to see you. I got one more steak that I got to cord wrap this morning, and then I'm going to take a short, like 3 to 5 minute break just to wash my hands and put this stuff away. And then we're going to do the finishing work on a custom battle bat. Yeah, there we go. All right. Good to see you. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks to everybody. If you guys have been hanging out with me for over an hour now, and about an hour and 20 minutes, and I really appreciate it. I know this hasn't been the most exciting thing this morning, just watching me cord wrap steaks. I haven't really had a lot of variety this morning. But I got red jute cord. I can't remember. Somebody recommended or thought it would be nice to have red jute cord. I think this was one of my regular people. I can't remember who it was. I think it was last week or week before. And I was like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. So I got some red. I hadn't used it yet, but I do like how it looks. I'm going to do a few sets of black, white, and red. Because I do have black, white, and green sets that I sell in the shop, but I think some people would probably prefer red to green, so that just gives me another way to do these steaks. And I will be glad when I finally get through. So the story behind these particular steaks is I do not plan on making these forever. I make custom bow stabs, and I also make cosplay bow stabs in my shop for like Ninja Turtle cosplay and stuff like that. I have a few pretty serious Ninja Turtle cosplayers like Dave Lozano that I make staffs for. And so I was trying to reduce costs because I make a lot of stabs. And so I ordered what was supposed to be a like 20 lot of hard maple bow staff blanks. And they were super cheap. Like they were way cheaper than what I thought they would be. And I checked with the vendor. I was like, these are hard maple? He's like, oh yeah, definitely hard maple. Absolutely. So I thought, these would be good to go. And they got here, and they definitely, number one, they definitely were not hard maple. And what's worse is they were not even bow staff blanks. They were just straight up broomsticks. I mean, they were like with like the threading on the top to like screw the broomstick into the head. Like they were supposed to be natural wood. They weren't. They were lacquered. And so I don't really have a use for that in my shop because I don't normally work with shitty wood. There wasn't really anything else I could make that out of, so I didn't want to waste the wood, so I went with vampire steaks because I'm not really going to be making money on these because I'm going to sell them for what they're worth. But a 3-steak set is about $35, and it's with free shipping, so I ship it for free. That includes the shipping cost. So with all I'm really charging on these is time and barely materials because but once I get through this lot of broomsticks, I probably won't be making this particular style of steak for a while. Or at least not with this wood. If they turn out to be a popular design, I might see about making them out of poplar or something a little less, I don't know, cheapy. All right, there we go, folks. So I'm going to put that there, and I just need a little break. I need to go put this stuff in the inventory room and pee and wash my hands. So I will be gone for about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. So if you need to go to the bathroom, whatever, go do that now. I will be back though. If anybody shows up while I'm gone and asks where I'm at, tell them I'll be right back. I'm just taking a quick break. And then we're going to move on to the custom battle bat. We'll do the handle in here, and then I'm going to take you guys over into the workshop, and we'll do the barbed wire. All right? All right, so don't do anything crazy while I'm gone. All right, I'll be right back. Behave yourselves. All right, give me 1 minute. I gotta pop outside. I'll be right back. The soap and water won't really take the stain off, so I gotta go out and spray my hands and then wipe them down with rubbing alcohol. I'll be back. Give me just a few minutes, you guys. All right. I think my hands are clean enough. I think I'll toss this. Whew. So real talk, it has been a minute since I've had to wrap up a baseball bat handle. So prayers are appreciated. Whichever God you want. All right. Here we go. Now the key with a baseball bat is first you find the long side, which is this one. And let me back up a little bit. Oh, I gotta move this in front of me. So this is the baseball bat. It's always best to put like a piece of foam or a towel on the floor. And you want to set the head of the bat down. Now, easy rule of thumb: if they're right-handed, you're going right. If they're left-handed, you're going left. And you always want to start from the knob down. Otherwise, it overlaps the wrong way, and they'll be pushing on the overlap as they swing, which will cause it to fold over. You don't want that. So you always want to start from the knob going down. You always want to start with the longer end of the tape. It has this little, you can see it's been cut at an angle. So what that does is it allows it to go wrap around and then start to go down at an angle. And you just kind of want to take your time with it and stretch it as you go. And you don't take all the tape off, just take it off as you go. And you don't want it to overlap too much. You want it to just overlap the lip slightly. Well, I guess we're going to my knee. I'm gonna take these glasses off because I cannot focus up close anymore with these bifocals. But it's also very important to stretch. stretch the tape as you go. Don't stretch too hard. Some tapes will break. Then when you get to the bottom part is also cut at an angle so that when you get down to the bottom, it will fold around straight. And then sometimes they come with finishing tape. These particular ones that I bought, I'm not a big fan of how the finishing tape looks. So I have my own finishing tape, which I'm gonna grab right now as I forgot to grab it. Oh crap, hang on. I know where my finishing tape is. It's in my office. I'll be right back. All right, finishing tape. Oh, all right. And all this does is just kind of help everything stay in place. It's adhesed. That's a hard word, but you want to make sure it stays that way. So you just want to stretch the finishing tape just slightly and go around to the top and then around the bottom. And then you're going to want to cut it kind of at an angle. It tends to stick better if you do it that way. There you go. Until it comes to a point like this. And then you just kind of stretch it and press down. And there we go. Now we got a baseball bat. And these are his, I'm not going to say the client's name, but these are his initials. You want his initials on the bottom. So, all right, give me 1 sec. I'm going to move you guys now to my shop, to my workshop area. And we're going to put on barbed wire. So give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. I'll come grab you. All right, let's see. How am I going to do this? I guess I'll just grab the whole rig and take it over to the workshop. So I know this probably looks weird right now. Sorry about that. Ah! All right, hang on 1 sec. Let me get you guys set up here. There we go. Welcome to the workshop. Let me plug in my little light here. And grab the barbed wire. Now this is the barbed wire. It's painted neon or fluorescent green. I just did that by putting it in a cardboard box, and I'd spray it, let it dry, spin it, spray it, let it dry, spin it, spray it, let it dry. Did that for a couple days. Used probably about 3/4 of a can of green spray paint, of fluorescent green spray paint to get that one finished. All right, so secret time, just to let you guys know, putting barbed wire on a baseball bat gives me all the anxiety, like so much anxiety, you guys. So, and also I've never done this in front of other people. Mostly because 9 times out of 10 I'm cursing at the barbed wire and the bat for not cooperating with me. So I'm going to apologize in advance. This is not going to be pretty. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong. Maybe I won't be as bad as I think it's going to be, but I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance for if this just looks terrible, or how or I look terrible anyway while doing this. Oh my god, so much anxiety. Okay. Whew. Because I have to be very careful not to scratch the bat. And have to be also very careful because I use a very heavy duty staple gun to hold. I tried so many things. I tried wood screws through the bat or through the barbed wire into the bat. I've tried nails. I've tried tacks. And a heavy duty staple gun is the one thing that has really turned out to be the best thing. I do have one other, which I forgot, of course. I do have one other thing that I have tried, but normally, I won't show it to you guys. It'll take too long to go get it. But I have these like manual staples that I hammer into the bat, and it's just ended up damaging the bat when I've done that. So if you're gonna handle barbed wire, by the way, highly recommend getting a pair of leather rancher gloves. It took me about 3 bats before I realized that was a thing that existed. Which is, if you don't want to tear your hands up, highly recommend getting rancher gloves. So the first thing I want to do is straighten out a little length of the bat, or the barbed wire, not the bat. I don't know how I'd straighten the length of the bat. And then you're going to start at the top. And what I normally do is I angle it up so that I'm going to fold over it as I go down. And this is going to be a pain in the rear. All right, let's go. I knew that was going to happen. There we go. All right. Like I said, barbed wire does not cooperate. Now, of course, I forgot my hammer. I'll be right back. Hammer! Hammer! Tank Tolman would be very upset with me if he knew I forgot the hammer. Because I just want to kind of make sure this first one is really anchored down. There we go. All right. And now, we're just going to start wrapping and praying that this works, and without scratching the bat up horribly. It will get scratched, like that's just going to happen. So just make peace with that. You are going to scratch the bat. There's no way to do this without scratching the bat. All right. Get to a spot. There we go. And I'm going to anchor that down. Now the other upside with barbed wire is that the longer it's on the bat, the more it's going to keep its shape. So eventually you can take these staples out. I wouldn't do it right away though. Oh, I may have gotten too much barbed wire. Oh well, I guess we're going back up. Hang on. The anchor there. And come on, get around. Ah, no, hold still. And let's do this one. And another anchor here. There we go. All right, shit. My hand is cramping. Come on. Where are you? There you are. And then we're going to tuck up underneath the barbed wire. There we go. And we're going to anchor it right here. Hold still, you little bastard. Hold still, you little fucker. There we go. There we go. All right. Now, I'm going to hammer those down. I'll need to clean this up. Where are the other anchors? There we go. And there we go. Now I got a custom battle bat with black top, gray bottom, black handle, and neon green barbed wire. It's a little scratched, but honestly could have been worse. I can clean this up with my shop vac because it just looks like it's got mostly little flecks of green paint that shed off as I was putting it on. But there we go. That's awesome. And that is done. That'll get packed up tomorrow and shipped off to the customer. Whew. Man. Oh, my hands. My hands are cramping, you guys. So the good news is this didn't take me nearly as long as I thought it was going to take me. So we're good. Oh, man. I was really expecting so much more to go wrong there. I find that helps me from just being disappointed when I just expect that things are going to go wrong. And then here in a little while, I will send a final photo to the client for them to approve before I pack it up and ship it. Be right back. I'm going to go put this away. All right. Whew. So I do have one more set of stakes that I could hypothetically cord wrap. I don't know if you guys really feel like sticking around or not. Should I continue streaming as I do this last set of stakes or just call it a day? What do you guys think? Let me know. What do you think? Let me grab my coffee. Have you guys seen enough today, or should I keep going? You're not gonna hurt my feelings either way. I'll tell you what, I'll move you in there and we can, no one's saying no, so you guys have done it now. You've done it now. See, you had a chance. Keep going. All right, you got it. We'll keep going. I got one more set of steaks to cord wrap. Let me move you guys back in here to my finishing room. And plug this bad boy back in. Yeah, it's funny. I plugged it in there and forgot to turn the light on. And really, in there, I'm pretty much, I'm lit pretty well in there. But in here, the lighting's not so great. So, move the tail. Grab some of this stuff and put it out of the way here. All right. Throw this away. Put my trash can. It is. Couldn't remember where I put my trash can because I cleaned the shop yesterday and was using the trash can. Ugh. Oh, all right, last set of steaks. We'll just stick with the black, white, and red. How you doing, William? And this last little set of steaks here will be my final ones. And then just to let you guys know, I will not be live streaming Saturdays and Sundays for a while, just for the next month. I'm going to Texas this next week to hang out with my kid. Happy Sunday, William. To hang out with my kid for a month during his summer break. So I do that every summer. I close the shop for just a month. I go to Texas and spend time with my kid because, you know, like I was saying earlier, I only got so much time before he's too old to want to hang out with me. So we're not pulling that cats in the cradle shit on my watch. So I'm gonna go hang out with him. My shop will be closed as of 3 a.m. Eastern time on Friday, June 20th. So if you need something from my shop, definitely go and buy it this week because the shop will be closed. My website, all listings will be removed from my website this week, one at a time, because Shopify is a pain in the ass. So I have to manually remove all like 100 something listings from my shop. So I gotta go do that. And it will take some time. So anyway, my shop will reopen around July 24th when I start driving back to Texas, or back to Florida from Texas. So when I get back, any orders that come in, I will, yeah, family first, man. It's always got to be family first, but I'll fill orders when I get back. But yeah, no, you know, like the shop, I do this shop, you know, it for the most part, I do the shop to make enough money so I can pay for the shop. Like, I don't really make money at the shop. Like, it's not a thing that I do for a living. Like I do, it's like my third job. Most of my income comes from writing. So, you know, I tend to stick with that. But this job, to be honest, just this job's just to keep me sane, really. Doing this shop gives me a job that I actually enjoy doing, and I think that's important. And here's the other thing, is you do not have to monetize something just because you like doing it. Because I know one always tells you, you know, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. That is true. But sometimes it's okay to just do something and you don't have to monetize it. I monetize this pretty much because I just want to, it's literally like a hobby that I'm getting to pay for itself is what I'm doing. I'm not looking, I would love to do this full time if I could. I would absolutely love to do it full time. But, you know, if I don't ever end up doing this full time, I'm cool with that too. I just want to be able to do it and afford to pay for it. And that's pretty much what the shop does. Now, the shop, unfortunately, it was paying for itself until last December when Etsy kicked me off their platform. I had been doing great on Etsy, but then Etsy changed one of their policies around. They had a policy you couldn't sell batons, right? And a baton, by definition, is usually about 12 to 24 inches long. I did not sell batons. I sold Eskrima sticks, which were at least 26 to 36 inches. And Etsy suddenly decided that Eskrima sticks were batons. And I wasn't the only one that got caught up in it. I've actually talked to other guys that I knew on Etsy who had similar shops to mine, and they're all off of Etsy now too. Etsy, unless you're selling candles or jewelry, you know, they don't seem to want you on their platform. However, what I find funny is that they have tons of like forges on Etsy that sell swords, knives, all kinds of stuff. But sticks are where Etsy draws the line. Sticks are just too dangerous. You can buy a murder knife, you can buy a sword, but for God's sakes, please don't buy a stick off of Etsy. You can hurt somebody with that. But you know, but so I had to relocate most of my inventory to Shopify and eBay. But you know, the sales are coming back slowly but surely. So I think by the end of this year, the shop will hopefully be back to paying for itself. That's what it took on Etsy. My first year on Etsy, it was after Halloween and the holidays. Was really that first Halloween holiday season was when my shop really picked up, because that's the season when most people find my shop, is during Halloween and the holidays. Halloween is like holidays part 1 for my shop, because we have a lot of Halloween related stuff. I just realized I did this one the wrong way. So I'm already halfway into it. I was wondering why it was taking me so long, because I wrapped it the wrong direction. Sticks and stones, right? Yeah. Sticks and stones might break my bones, but closing down my shop will definitely hurt me. But yeah, usually around like mid to late September, I start getting vampire steak orders, and they do not stop until, you know what, screw this, I'm going to start over. That's going to take me forever. I'm way faster the other direction. I don't know why I do that with steaks. I never do it with anything else, but with steaks, I tend to wrap it the wrong way. I don't know why I do that. There we go. Because it takes forever to do it the other way. But yeah, Etsy does not like sticks, man. They do not. They really don't. They really got upset about my palm sticks, which I thought was so silly. So like, I sold Yawara on Etsy, and I couldn't call them Yawara, and I couldn't call them palm sticks, but I could call them massage sticks, and Etsy was fine with it. Which I learned that the hard way, because they almost shut my shop down in the beginning over those. But then I had another, I noticed there were a bunch of other sellers selling the same stuff, and I'm like, how are they selling it and they're fine? They're like, oh, you gotta call it a massage stick. I'm like, oh, okay, a massage stick. But you can massage the shit out of your enemies with it. Oh god, I'm sorry I'm so shiny. It is warm in here for some reason. I don't know why. Sundays always seems like the air conditioner's not. I don't know if the guy next door shuts the air conditioner down on Sundays or what, but it gets warm in here. But if you got any questions while I'm doing these last few steaks, feel free to drop those in the chat. And if you have enjoyed this stream, please like and subscribe. I'm not really a YouTuber, but, you know, I mostly just use my YouTube channel to show off what I'm doing in the shop. So if you're interested in what I'm doing in the shop, please give a like and a subscribe, because I'm terrible at saying that. I always forget to mention it. And if you got any questions about the shop or what I'm doing, or maybe a potential custom order, feel free to drop those in the chat. Or if you got a question about mythology, I had mythology questions earlier, which also fun because in addition to this, I am also a mythologist. I have a master's degree in English with a focus in world mythology. And I studied under Evans Lansing Smith, who studied under Joseph Campbell. So I will also take mythology questions now, I guess. Or if you have any questions about vampire lore. I actually thought about, I always complain about how vampire lore leaves so much stuff out. I've thought about doing like a panel at Comic-Cons. I do panels at Tampa Comic-Con every summer. For the most part, I do the same ones every year. I've changed them up a little bit in the last few years. But I do one on supernatural creatures. But I thought it would be interesting if I did one specifically on vampires and vampire stakes. And properly staking a vampire. I think that would be fun. I'm not sure if Tampa Comic-Con would let me get away with that or not. But we'll find out. I think next year I'll submit a panel request for that. They've definitely changed things up at Tampa Comic-Con, and it seems to be all right. I wasn't so sure about it at first. But now you have to submit to be a panelist first. And then, if they approve you as a panelist, then you can submit an actual panel request. They won't let people just do open panel requests anymore. Which I get. Tampa Comic-Con, I've been going to it for like 12 years. And the first year I went, and it was hardly anybody. It was a good convention. I just don't think there was a huge crowd. But it got bigger every year, and it is huge now. It is probably the biggest convention I do. One of these days, I'll get over to San Diego. Almost. Oh, wait. What am I doing? I got to change the color. I almost got to do San Diego Comic-Con back when I did. I want to say it was the Mythology of Grimm, I think it was. It was the Mythology of Grimm. They were going to let me do a panel on Grimm's fairy tales at San Diego Comic-Con. My publisher was going to send me. And then apparently Kevin Smith wrote a book. Nothing against Kevin Smith. I love the guy. He is cool. I dig him. I'm not sure how this got knotted. But apparently Kevin Smith rated more than I did, which I get. More people are going to come see Kevin Smith than come see Nathan Robert Brown, the mythologist. So my one chance that year to go to San Diego got pulled out from under me. But I keep hoping maybe one of these days I'll get the call from the publisher and get to go to the big show. In San Diego, I have never been. And I hate it because when I was a kid, I lived in Los Angeles for a couple of years in the Torrance area. And I was probably about 11, 12, around that time. And San Diego Comic-Con, I found out about it because that was when I first kind of got into comics. And I went to my mom, and I'm like, I begged her to let me go. And she's like, no, we're not going. No one ever listens to you when you're 10 years old. But that's the guy next door. He doesn't sound happy. I hope all's well. Yeah, I'm not worried. I don't really want to be famous. I want to be famous. You know what I would love is if I'm famous after I die. That would be awesome. I would rather just be commercially successful. I don't really want to be famous. I guess one of the nice things about being a writer is that like more people know your name than know what you look like, which I love. Because I not that people would be stopping me on the street or anything, but I enjoy the fact that more people know my name than know my face. I enjoy that very much. Because I really don't want to be famous. Now, when I'm dead, all bets are off. Absolutely. Make me famous as shit when I'm dead. Go for it. It's like, that's kind of what I want to be. I want to be one of those writers that I write a book that that is kind of okay, but then becomes a success after I'm dead, and then people remember me forever. I'm totally cool with that. It's literally the whole reason one of the main reasons I became a writer, aside from the fact that it's one of my only marketable skills, is I feel like being an author is kind of like being immortal. You know, like actors, right? People forget actors, like for the most part. Like you know, their stuff is still around, but like they don't like people. Not everyone doesn't know their name. That's not true with authors. Like authors, their names stick around way after they're dead. You know, everyone here knows who Ernest Hemingway is. Everyone knows who F. Scott Fitzgerald is. You know, everyone knows who Charles Dickens is. You know, people remember authors, and I feel like they remember authors for far longer than they remember actors. There was a period when I wanted to be an actor too, but I mean, come on, professional liar. It's like the best job ever. But I don't know, man. I just never really fit in that world. I think because like people who are in theater and actors, they treat it like they're curing cancer, right? Like they treat it like it's like people in fashion. They treat it like they're doing something profoundly important, when in fact they really aren't. Visit Old Town in San Diego for the best tacos. I will, if I ever make it to San Diego again, I will absolutely do that. I haven't been in San Diego since 1996, I think. I was in the Marine Corps there in 96. Still didn't get to go to Comic-Con. But if I ever get to go, you got it, man. I will absolutely check out Old Town and get some tacos. When I was stationed there, we spent very little of our time in San Diego proper. We spent most of it in Oceanside, or as a lot of the Marines called it, Ocean Slime, because it's a little rough, that part of town. You definitely was an eye-opening experience, that part of town. Midway ship, yeah. That I have seen. I didn't really visit it, but I have seen it. All right, so that's done with the black. One more in red, and then we're going to be done, my people. Wow, this has been a really long one. We're like on to like the 2-hour mark here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me this morning. I really appreciate it. I know this has been a really long stream compared to my usual. Usually I only go a little under 2 hours, but we're already past the 2-hour mark here. With the baseball bat. Really, really took a lot of time. All right, here we go. Make sure there are no kinks in this. There we go. But yeah, no, fame while I'm alive. Nah, I'm good. You know, the other reason I'm not really interested in being famous while I'm alive is that I find that when people are famous when they're alive, it changes them, and they tend to get this feeling like they can do anything they want, and you know, usually they get surrounded by people who just agree with everything they say, and you know, nah, I'm good. That's not really a life that interests me. I would rather have friends that I know are my friends, not people that just want to hang out with me because I'm famous. It's funny though, because my kids, there's always a moment with my children, usually when they're around somewhere between the age of 5 and 8, when they finally figure out what it is Dad does for a living. Because like when I first tell them I'm a writer, they don't quite get it. They don't quite understand what I'm talking about. Because I'll usually, like, both my kids, I would show them one of my books and explain that, like, this is what Daddy does for a living. I write books. And then they would look at it. There are no pictures, and they'd be like, "This is unimportant," and they would walk away. But usually around, like, I don't know, around 7 or 8, they usually figure. Usually after they start going to school, they figure it out. My daughter figured it out when she found one of my books in her school library, which was a fun experience. And then she immediately got into trouble because she showed it to her friends and the word bitch was in the book. So I got a phone call about that one. My son figured it out sooner. My son figured it out. He's a very big reader. He figured it out a little earlier on. But there's always a period after they figure it out that they think I'm famous. And not only do they think I'm famous, they also seem to think that I'm rich. And I'll tell you what, rich writers, that's not a thing. Like, I am by no means rich. I am pretty solidly middle class. I am not even close to rich. Most writers are not, except for the ones whose names you know and everyone else knows. Like, it's kind of like being a rock star. Like, there's like probably hundreds of bands in the world, but at any given time, only a handful of them are popular and actually making a living at it. You know, and writers is kind of the same thing. Like, I've written 15 books now, and most people have no idea who I am, and I'm cool with that. But I've published 15 books. I've written more than that, but writing a book and getting it published are two completely different things. I've probably written a few dozen books in my life, but only about 15 or 16 of them have been published. I'd have to go back and recount. I can't remember. It was 15 or 16. I think it's 15, maybe. 15, yeah. I think it's 15. Book number 16 I'll be starting later this summer for DK Publishing. This one's on the unknown. But yeah, but I have to have a talk with my kids because I'm like, okay, so first of all, I'm not famous. Like, I am moderate. I always tell them I'm moderately known. That's really a better way of putting that. Like, I am not famous. Do some people know who I am? Yes. But no, I'm not. I'm by no means famous. For God's sakes, I have like 1,700 followers on Instagram. Like, it's not famous, not at all. And definitely not rich. I live comfortably by my standards, which I've come to learn in recent years. My standards are a little Spartan compared to most people. You know, for me, I have a bed, a roof, air conditioning, a television, and a PlayStation. I'm good to go. That's about all I need. And preferably to have those things in a neighborhood where I'm not worried about getting stabbed on the way to my car. You know, that's about it. I've been told I need to raise my standards a little higher than that. But like, seriously, like, if I live in a nicer place, that usually means I'm living with someone else because I don't care. Like, I will live in a shack, and I have lived in a shack. Like, I'm thinking there's the guy next door. He's got an RV that sits out behind the shop that he used to rent to this guy, and that guy moved out last year. And I'm actually thinking if he hasn't rented it out by the time the holiday season gets here, I might try to rent it, because during the holiday season I am running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and the one thing that seems to take up the most of my time is trying to drive home. So being able to sleep at the shop would be great. I have a bed, sort of. I have like a couch that folds out into a bed in my office. It's not the comfiest thing in the world, though, and I have an old back. So sometimes during the holidays, I'll stay at the shop overnight because I just need to get up and get back to work in the mornings. That way I can work later. But we'll see. But it would be way more comfortable for me if I could have an RV behind the shop with like an actual bed in it. You know, that would probably be nice. Nicer, anyway, than sleeping on a foam fold-up couch in my office. There we go. I actually really like that. The red, black and white, as opposed to the green, black, and white. So whoever suggested the red jute cord, thank you. Somebody recommended that to me last week, I think, or a week before. I can't remember who it was, but someone on the stream recommended red jute cord, and thank you for that. I like how it looks. It's a good recommendation. A satisfied mind is 100% priceless, William. Absolutely is. So that was my last steak of the day, people. I'll stick around for a couple more minutes. If you've got any questions before I leave, feel free to drop those in the chat. But also just wanted to end the stream by letting you guys know, or reminding everybody, that my shop will be closed from June 20th to July 24th. All right, my shop closes on Friday, June 20th at 3 a.m. Eastern time. So if there's something that you need from the shop, please go and order that before Friday. Hey, happy Father's Day, William. Appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. But yeah, go to the shop and order whatever you need before Friday, because once Friday comes, the shop will be closed. My website and my eBay shop will both be closed until I return on July 25th. Well, I'm leaving on the 24th. I'll reopen it on the 24th when I drive back. I think I'm driving back. I think that's it. I don't remember. I don't know where my phone is. Oh, you guys are on my phone. That's where my phone is. Good God. Anyway, if nobody has any questions, I will give you guys one more minute if you have any questions. If not, I am going to call it a day. Thank you for hanging out with me on this last Sunday Finishing Work Live before I go to Texas for a month. But I will see you guys probably bye, High Learning. Thanks, Jay. Good to see you too. But yeah, probably my next stream will be the first weekend of August. So yeah, first weekend I get back. I will probably live stream during my Tampa stuff a little bit this year on the channel, or at least I might post some videos of it. We'll see. God bless you too there, Higher Learning. Whatever God you want. Yeah, well, hey, Higher Learning, I got a kid that's very quickly becoming a teenager, and I spend a month with him every summer because I don't want to waste that time. Made that mistake with my daughter. I don't feel like I spent nearly enough time with her. And, you know, and then COVID hit when she was in her teens, and I missed a good chunk of it. I'm not going to make that mistake again. So just a month. I'll see you guys the first weekend of August. I'll be live streaming again. And I will try to, like I said, I'll try to stream during Tampa Comic-Con. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Take care. See you in a month. Oh, if I can get this to go. There we go.